This is insane. On a random Monday in September of 2024, EA and IGN have just announced the new Battlefield game. This is legit. This is real. Concept art from the game here. That's modern day. That is a modern day setting right there. Not sure about this location. I mean, there was no indication this was coming at all. So let's get into it. Exclusive. Vince Zampella confirms the next Battlefield will use modern setting. First concept art revealed. We get our first glimpse of EA's big Battlefield revival and learn more about how it's heading back to basics. Ahead of its Investor Day on September 17th, EA revealed fresh details on its untitled Battlefield game alongside its first official concept art, which IGN can exclusively reveal for the first time. IGN can also confirm that Battlefield will be returning to a modern setting after I'm smiling, man, after stints in World War I, World War II in the near future. While EA is cagey about specifics when it comes to the concept art, including declining to name of the city where it's set, although it looks like Italy or somewhere else in Europe, it does include details that should stand out to longtime fans of the series. Among other things, it appears to suggest that ship-to-ship and helicopter combat will be a part of the new game, and that it will feature natural disasters like wildfires. Its greyish colour scheme is evocative of BF4, which remains one of the most popular games in the series despite being released a decade ago. So we've got a ship there, some kind of big attack boat maybe. Where are the helicopters? Oh yeah, Apache helicopters, attack helicopters. I didn't even notice those, man. Here's the fire over there. All of it points to a back to basics approach for the next Battlefield. Indeed, head of Respawn and Group GM for EA Studios organization, Vince Zampella, is quick to shout out BF3 and 4 in the course of sitting down with IGN to talk about these new reveals. On the decision to return to the modern era, Zampella says, I mean, if you look back to the peak or the pinnacle of Battlefield, it's that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era where everything was modern. And I think we have to get back to the core of what Battlefield is and do that amazingly well. And then we'll see where it goes from there. But I think for me, it's that peak of Battlefield-ness is in that BF3 and 4 days. So I think it's nostalgic for players. For me, the teams even, those are kind of the heyday, although I would say 1942 also. Yeah, I was playing 1942 when I was a stupid 12-year-old or something like that. The return of the modern setting represents a course correction for the series after BF 2042, which eventually found its footing but was otherwise widely panned for features like specialists, characters that made it seem as if Battlefield was trying to be a hero shooter. Its ambitious 128-player maps also proved unpopular with fans who preferred a more focused experience. BF 2042 eventually went back to supporting 64 players per map, and the next Battlefield plans to stick to that approach. I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. Yeah, the 128-player, did it make it more fun? Like, doing the number for the sake of the number doesn't make any sense. We're testing everything around what's the most fun. So like you said, the maps, once they get to a certain scale, become different. It's a different play space, and I think you have to design around that. So we're designing something that's more akin to previous Battlefields. Zampella says, I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to see some of them. Okay, so maybe more of a focus on map design this time than giant maps. 64 players is going to be the main game mode, it sounds like. Specialists are also out this time around. So I wasn't there for 2042. I don't know what the rationale was, but for me, it's like the team trying something new. You have to applaud that effort. Not everybody liked it, but you got to try things. It didn't work, it didn't fit. Specialists will not be coming back. So classes are kind of at the core of Battlefield, and we're going back to that. He's careful to stress that 2042 wasn't a failure of a game, despite not doing as well as he hoped. He notes that the development team really spent a lot of time learning how to adapt it and getting things back. Still, he says EA doesn't want a repeat of the experience it had with 2042. We want it to be good out of the gate. It adds up to what one might call classic Battlefield, but bigger. Big enough that it merits the efforts of 4 separate studios in DICE, Motive, Ripple Effect and Criterion. Ridgeline Games was briefly part of its development before being shuttered after founder Marcus Leto's departure. EA CEO Andrew Wilson claims it's one of the most ambitious projects in history. That's just from the earnings call, that's old. Nevertheless, Zampella remains vague on what all of that actually entails. Yeah, it's definitely betting bigger on Battlefield. It's going in and expanding what Battlefield is. We have to have the core Battlefield players know that they want. They've been with us forever. They've been amazing supporters. We need to earn their trust back and get them back on our side. And then it's expanding out and getting more players into the universe and seeing what we can do. So when you want a different experience, you don't have to leave Battlefield. You can experience more things within the Battlefield universe. So we're expanding the offerings that we're giving. So I think that's alluding to stuff like campaign. They've talked about that. Some kind of experience that Ripple Effect are making. I've always assumed logically that's going to be a battle royale. Portal, maybe some kind of expansion there too, and then your traditional multiplayer. The road ahead for Battlefield. In the meantime, Activision Blizzard is planning to release Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Battlefield's traditional competitor. Not for the last few years. Where Battlefield has stumbled, Call of Duty has largely continued to thrive. It begs the question, will Battlefield ever outsell Call of Duty? Oh, if you look at the best Battlefields have outsold some Call of Duties and other way around, back and forth. So I think absolutely it can, Zempella says. No, while sales data is incomplete, the publicly available data for even weaker releases like Infinite Warfare has typically favored Call of Duty. I mean, is that what we're going for? I mean, not directly, but always. We're not looking to take down Call of Duty. We're making something that's different and we're making something that's us. But yeah, it definitely has the possibility. Okay. Strong words from Vince there. On the subject of pushing into the transmedia space where franchises like The Last of Us and Fallout have thrived, the latter taking home an Emmy Award over the weekend, Zempella demurs. There are definitely opportunities there. We've had some discussions, but it's not our core business. To me, that stuff when it works is super cool. Like Arcane was great, but there's other ones that haven't worked as well, and I won't name those, but you know what they are. He says it's a marketing opportunity of getting your franchise out there, and it's not core to what we're doing right now. So we are game first. That has to work. And if the right opportunity comes, absolutely, we'll look at it. And do we take meetings all the time? Sure, but it's not the core business, so it's that balance. I would love to see it right now. We're not looking at anything like that for Battlefield, so no kind of TV show, movie coming up. In the near future, it seems, not in the pipeline anyway. It's unclear when the next Battlefield will release, but there are signs that EA is ramping up for 2025, having entered full production earlier this year. According to Zempella, EA is playtesting the game every week and plans to launch a community program next year, although it's unclear if it's a closed beta or something else. So I think EA CEO Andy Wilson said fiscal year 25, so probably October, November next year. We have a program that we're going to announce next year around getting more community in. Is this like CTE maybe, or public beta? Because that's kind of the core of what we have to do, get the community back on our side, get that trust back, he says. So I think we're in a really good place. Is it challenging? Of course, but it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't. Whenever Battlefield eventually releases, it's a big test for the series, which has a lot to prove to fans after close to a decade since its last really successful entry. It'll be entering an unsettled console landscape, with Sony announcing the PS5 Pro last week, rumors of a next-gen Xbox, and Nintendo expected to announce the Switch 2 soon. Zempella is broadly taking a we'll see approach to both the PS5 Pro and the unannounced Switch 2, though he has some kind words for Nintendo in particular. I mean, since Switch 2 isn't announced and it doesn't exist, I can't really comment on that. I bet they've got a prototype or a dev version of it, but I would say absolutely Nintendo, along with Microsoft and Sony, are great partners for us, are important to us on our business at EA, at Respawn. Would love to see it. Zempella says, we don't have anything to announce, but is there a world? Sure, we love them as partners. They've been great to us. I love the Switch. So maybe Battlefield on Nintendo Switch 2. If the hardware is good enough, if it's there, we'll have to see. That'd be cool for Switch players. One way or another, EA is betting a huge amount of time, money, and manpower on the idea that the multiplayer shooter space is ready for a shakeup. As for whether that bet will pay off, it sounds like we'll know sooner rather than later. And this article was by Kat Bailey at IGN. Okay, there it is. I mean, look at this. That's crazy. Just Battlefield, is that what they're calling it? Although they said it was unnamed, but I mean, we talked about this for years, right? If they wanted to make a Battlefield game that is just run for years and years, well, they do engine updates or something, they could just call it Battlefield. Might work. But yeah, we've got attack helicopters here, attack boats, lots of buildings here, urban environments. I hope that leans into the map design. I'd love to see more of that. Fire, smoke, maybe a bit of destruction here. Yeah, this is it. This is the new game. First time they've publicly talked about more specifics and what it is. Classes coming back, 64 players, modern day. It looks like helicopters, boats, maybe a spiritual successor to BF3 and BF4, which I know a lot of us want to see. We want to get our hands on that. But as I've always said, after BF5 and 2042, they've got to come out of the gate swinging with this game. It's got to have a ton of classic Battlefield features in it. It's got to feel like a fun Battlefield game. Make sure that it works on launch. It's not a buggy mess. It's got to be stable. Got to have a ton of content there. Got to have a good live service. Win that core audience back and then grow from there. We'll see how it goes. Guys, let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here. Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.